Been thinking about buying a home? Maybe you've already started looking, but you've dropped out because of the crazy seller's market we're in right now. It is hot market in Cincinnati, as I'm sure you're well aware. Probably heard a lot of stories. So in this video, what we're gonna do is talk about ways to maximize your potential of getting your offer accepted right after this. All right, so in this video, we're going to talk about how to get your offer accepted, or at least give you the best possible shot at getting your offer accepted. We're going to give you kind of the top 5 things. Well, let me take that back. Give you the top 6 things. I'm going to give you a bonus. If you wait around till the end, I'm going to give you kind of the secret sauce that pulls the top 5 things together to give you the best possibility of getting your offer accepted. The first thing to understand is that in this type of an environment, the way it's operating, and the way list pricing is going, that is kind of the starting point in most cases. For example, in February, nationally, National Association of Realtors put out a statistic that there's 4.8 offers on every home sold. Now that is every home sold nationally, and I guarantee you, I know for a fact in the Mason area, highly desirable areas, if it's a nice home, highly desirable area, you're seeing upwards of 10 offers plus on a home. Okay, so now let's get on to the top 5/6 things to maximize your potential to get your offer accepted. Number 1, get pre-approved. By all means, get your financing in order, get pre-approved so that you understand the range that you're operating within in this market. Interest rates are going up, so in some cases you may, even if you've been in the buying process for a while and looking, you may want to go back and get reapproved because interest rates have gone up from roughly 3.5 at the beginning of the year. They're closing in on 5% now in most cases, and by the time this video is out, it may be over 5%. So you may want to get reapproved, because what happens is when interest rates go up, your price range goes down as far as your pre-approval and the range that you would qualify for on a mortgage. And when you're going through this financing process, get a local lender that is responsive, that answers their phone on weekends and evenings, and is willing to get you a pre-approval letter at the drop of a hat.
I'll call him. I'll call David.
No, you won't, because he's not picking up his phone.
Yes, I will, because I always know how to get through to him. He told me where his kids go to school. I call the school. I tell him I'm a pediatrician.
Because if we're going to put an offer in on a home, most likely, in most cases, it's either going to be on the weekend or in the evenings. And again, when we're talking about financing, you're going to get a top end, most likely from your lender, stating that you would qualify up to this amount. Now, we don't necessarily want to be putting in offers at the top end of your range. Number one, the lender should be able to tell you what your monthly payment's going to look like at what price point, including property taxes, everything in there. And you have to feel comfortable with that monthly payment. Just because you can qualify for a number doesn't mean you should necessarily buy at that number. Now, the other reason you don't want to be looking at the top end of your range is because, as I stated before, you're likely going to be going in at list and then up from there. So you don't want to go in at the top end of your range at an offer and then have to go up from there. Now that we've got your financing in order, the second thing you're going to want to do is really define your wants versus needs in a home. And I've got 3 areas that I think you should probably focus on as far as really putting together a list of your wants versus your needs. The first is your must-haves, exactly that. And the things that are non-negotiable, the things that are lifestyle things that you have to have, such as living close to relatives so that you can have child care, or you want to be close to grandparents. Being close to work might be another thing when you look at commute time. And it could also be school districts, that type of thing. Things that you will not move off of. They are your bare minimum, have to have. Numbers of bedrooms might be another one, bathrooms, that type of thing that you cannot negotiate. Now, in the second category are the nice to haves. Things that if you found a home that they had would be nice to have, such as maybe a second office. Just things that you are willing to come off of a little bit. Maybe you would love to have a 2-car garage, but right now you don't have a garage, so even if you get a 1-car, that would be your bare minimum. A 2-car would be nice to have. The third area would be what I call dream state. Just complete, you hit the lottery type of things, such as a finished lower level. Now, your must-have might be that it has a basement, but the dream state would be a finished lower level. These are things that you can look at the bones of the house and say, I can maybe do that later. And they're things that you're very willing to negotiate away from if it's the right home and the right price. Get that list together of must-haves, nice-to-haves, and dream state. The third thing, define the geography and where you want to live. Now, what drives that obviously is up to you. It could be school districts. Again, it could be, as we talked, living close to relatives, work, that type of thing. But understand the areas where you really want to focus your search. And again, you, in a market like this, you might want to be flexible with that too, as far as maybe expanding. If your child's very young, maybe you can't move into that school district immediately now, but in say 4 or 5 years when they become of school age, you can then take the equity from the home that you bought and move into your dream home in the school district that you want to live. Just in this market, again, it is very important to be flexible in your thought process. The number 4 thing to consider as price of admission in this market is you've got to be ready to move fast.
I feel the need for speed.
Again, don't force a decision on a home you may not want, but when you find the one that you want to put a bid in on or an offer in on, we have to move fast. That's why we've done all these other things. We've got your financing in order with a local lender that's ready to go. You know the area you want to look in. You're satisfied with the type of home and the must-haves on your list. And we're going to have to write that offer up immediately. In February, I saw that in Cincinnati, the median days on market was 4 days on the market. In desirable areas, a nice home, they're going same day that they go on the market. Number 5 thing to consider. Be ready to put in a strong but fair offer. Now, I'll get into some details of some of the things that will make it a strong and fair offer here. But in a market like this, again, nationally, 46% of homes are going over list price, and people are doing some very crazy things that I wouldn't necessarily advise. But some of the things that you're going to have to consider in a market like this are looking at what we call contingencies within an offer. Some of the contingencies in an offer are inspection, the appraisal, an insurance review period. So I'll get into a little bit of detail in what does help kind of place your offer ahead of some of the others if you were to consider, say, with the appraisal. Covering some of what we call an appraisal gap. I don't want to get into too much detail here, but say you put an offer in for $250,000 on a home, it only comes in, the bank sends out the appraiser and says it's only worth $240,000. Well, they're not going to give you a loan for that extra $10,000 gap there. So what we can do is we can say, within your offer, you're willing to cover up to, say, $5,000, meaning at closing, you would have to bring up to $5,000, depending upon the appraisal miss, to cover that gap. But that is something that will, in some cases, make your offer look a little bit stronger, and it's quite common these days, unfortunately. You're seeing a lot of it. Another contingency is, and I would never advise my clients not to have an inspection. Some people are buying homes without an inspection. At the very most, my suggestion would be, if you're going to do anything with the inspection, would be to say, we're going to do an inspection, but it's just going to be for informational purposes only. Meaning that you at least get to look at the condition of the home, and if there's anything that's major structural or major safety issues, you're just telling them, we're not going to ask you to do anything necessarily, but you are retaining your right to get out of the contract if there is something severely wrong with the property that you feel, if there's a major structural issue, you might be buying a home that you can't afford to fix. And another thing that we are seeing, where because it is such a fast market right now, a lot of times sellers will want to have what we call post-closing occupancy, meaning that if you have flexibility, again, flexibility is a key to all these things we're talking about. If you have flexibility as a buyer to, say, after closing, give them an additional 30 days to live in the home, because either A, they're finishing a new construction home, or they actually have to close on their home that they're moving into, and they need time to do that, that's something that might, again, put your offer in a little better light. These are just things to have in your pocket to understand once we get into the process. So here's the bonus tip, the secret sauce that kind of pulls all these, the first 5, which are, in my opinion right now, just the price of admission to even put an offer in on a home. This is kind of the linchpin that pulls it all together and will give those things that you've done better opportunity to succeed.
So you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah!
The second I walk out of a property with a client that wants to put an offer in, I am stalking that listing agent. So I am going on Facebook. Do I have a past history? Do I know that agent? What things, do we have commonalities? Have I put offers in prior with this agent? How did that go? I'm looking up their past listings in the multiple listing service to see, hey, maybe they've listed a home in my current neighborhood. Maybe they've listed a home or sold homes where I grew up in Cincinnati. Did they go to University of Cincinnati like I did? What things do we have in common that I can draw upon? Because it is very important to have a positive relationship with the agent on the other side of the transaction. Why? Because trust me, the listing agent wants this to go as smoothly as possible. They want to feel comfortable with the agent they're dealing with on the buyer's side so that they know that nothing crazy is going to happen halfway through and they're going to have to relist the house. They want to feel comfortable with who they're going to work with for the next 30 to 60 days on this process. I'm looking at all the things that I can glean. When I look up what they've sold, say, over the past year in this market, what is their list versus sell price ratio? Are they consistently selling 20% over list, 10% over list? What are they doing with their listings? Agents do have different methodologies how they like to list a home, and some list it extremely low, some list it very fairly, and some list it high still. So it's important to know that, get inside the other agent's head and understand kind of what they're thinking. It's very important for me to ask questions of that other agent. What is important to their client? What are some of the things that might be able to separate your offer from the other 7, 8, 10 offers that are coming through on the first day of the listing? Just a lot of things to think about, and communication is huge today in this market. The agents, the lenders, everybody has to be communicating quick, making decisions fast, and getting information pulled together as quickly as possible so that your offer is sitting on top of the pile when it comes time to make a decision. Anything I can do to help, call, text, email, happy to help any way I can. And when you get ready to do anything at all in real estate, I hope to be your real estate resource of choice.